Hey man, I have a question for you. How does your daily routine looks like? You wake up, come to senses, grab a breakfast, brush your teeth, doom scroll a bit, and commute to the place where you spend most of your day. And now repeat this for 5 times a week, 215 a year, and roughly 12,500 times in the span of your entire lifetime. So it would only make sense if you can make out the best out of this time. But how do I do that? Well, this video is exactly about it. About what exactly? Productivity is a measure of efficiency that compares the amount of goods and services produced to the amount of resources used to make them, which, from its purely industrial and economic heritage, has evolved and transferred and blended in perfectly with the culture. And as market upscaled and globalized, it gave the workers the degree of freedom of choices and opportunities that was previously unthinkable, giving birth to what we know as personal productivity or just productivity, where you as individual have time and skills as your resource and incentive to live and buy shiny things as your driver to produce more. I mean, when you get to know somebody, what is the first thing that you ask? If you are from Europe or North America, it is highly likely to be what you do for a living, and by that we understand what you do to make money. Because initially when you meet someone, you want to find out more about how useful or interesting they are to you. And of course, you don't say that in a manner that would imply that you want to use them. Like, nah, of course I don't want to take advantage of your social status, people you might know, or things you may offer. Of course it's not the case, man. I just don't want to be your friend, alright? Alright? Please. You unconsciously assign people values based on what they say to you, and then proceed to treat them accordingly. So, in order to adapt, you pull out a fitting mask depending on who are you talking with, to appear a certain way and therefore be treated as such. Of course, you don't want to appear as unemployed loser playing video games all day, because if you admit this, people will unconsciously look down on you. So you just make yourself out what you really aren't.
34? Okay, what do you do?
I am a risk taker. I'm a road runner. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a guy.
But hey, what does this all have to do with productivity? Everything. If you say I'm busy, it feels like pulling a get out of jail card. It is the ultimate excuse to not engage in social situations, since realistically you wouldn't interrogate them on what they're doing. They could be binge watching Breaking Bad or grinding their 6-hour-long Valorant session for all I know. But hey buddy, I see you're busy, so we're good. Maybe it is only my thing, but you kind of respect them more. They seem to be more intelligent, outgoing, and disciplined, even if you don't know their intrinsic motivations or even their feelings on what they're doing. So it isn't hard to imagine what they could feel from the insider perspective. From what I read on a totally trusted source, namely Reddit, it is like a desire to perform at the level of your expectations, which raises every time you manage to fulfill them. And it feels awesome. It feels like you hacked life and became a better version of yourself. But eventually, in attempts to escape feeling miserable by achieving more and more complex and rewarding goals, you raise the bar so high you can no longer reach it, which eventually puts you in a dark place called the burnout. And I can kind of relate to that. Like, how many times I felt guilty for spending my jolly time with the person I love just because I hadn't done a thing I had no obligations to do. But what if the things had gone differently? Just look at this guy who totally doesn't look like me. The dude is absolutely locked on his objective, mixing Adderall with Monster to fight off his natural urge to sleep. Have you ever heard of a flow state? Well, he knows everything about it. Not a single emotion on his face. The fatigue was successfully masked behind a cocktail of potent drugs, dedication to the craft, and some self-hatred driven motivation. But hey, he gets the job done. Does it sound motivating or even remotely fun to you? I don't think so, but do you still sometimes have this weird will to lock yourself within the four walls of your room, remove all of the distracting stuff, and limit social gatherings just to do the things that you can normally force yourself to do? But why? It is not rational to cut off sunlight, joy, and people around you, yet it seems to be effective. You see, if you have a closed room and you remove all of the fun stuff, it means you're bored. And when you're bored, you naturally look for the most engaging thing in the room, which is, in this case, your work. Congrats, you just discovered something that people call a monk mode. So combine that with a social image of being a high performer, an occasional comparison with the motherfuckers your age driving Lambos. That's quite a lot to take in, both physically and mentally. So how do I escape that fate? Maybe there is like a shortcut, maybe the thing that would make me do more stuff and still have like free time, that type of thing. Yeah, sure, there is one, and it is called optimization. Hey man, do you remember the routine from the beginning of the video? If no, let me recap it real quick. You wake up, come to senses, grab a breakfast, brush your teeth, doom scroll a bit, and commute to the place where you spend most of your day. So what could be improved here? Maybe as soon as you open your eyes, you don't delay your alarm clock for another 5 minutes. Instead you go hit a cold shower because it is a scientific way to boost noradrenaline level in your body. Why cook or pre-make your food when you can hit a shortcut by consuming some mystery brew under the label of complete foods? And commuting is kind of boring and listening to the music is unproductive. Why not fix this problem by listening to Joe Rogan podcasts about the topic you know nothing about? Hell man, you type K instead of OK, saving you so much time you know how to decide where to spend it on. The point is, we love to optimize the fuck out of everything. Even the things we enjoy are no exception. Have you ever played Minecraft with your homies? There is always this one dude who speedruns the whole game while you still try to figure out how to join the server. From surface, it seems obvious if something could be done easier, it will be done easier. It would make total sense to bypass the phase of trial and error by you get the fuck out of here. It would make a total sense to bypass initial phase of trial and error by looking at what is the best thing for X, Y, and Z and what are common mistake for X. Bro, fuck. How often do you ask AI or look on Reddit, which is practically the same thing, to compare stuff or give the best solution for the given problem? Which is alright when, buying stuff and fixing technical issues, because there are objective measures to rate how effective or ineffective a certain solution is. However, what I'm trying to say is that over-relying on external advice and tips is like drinking a sweet poison. Indeed, so sweet that you would look stupid if you refuse to take the shortcut. I remember when I started to learn German, I had this whole Obsidian page where I was just writing all the rules, new words, and things that I've learned. I was working with a tutor and watching ton of content, I think too much of it. But guess what? It kinda worked, but looking back at it, I feel like it was a sunk cost, because so much time was just flushed down the drain doing seemingly related side quests, but in reality it was just keeping my delusion that I work hard and that I wanted to learn the language and that I really liked it. I don't. That I forgot the fundamental reason why I do this, which is to just integrate and live a normal life. I mean, this whole optimization thing gives me the vibes of a bell-shaped curve, in which most people will try to do better by, following some external tips, diets, routines, you name it. But what wings total noobs and the pros is just following some basic rules and be consistent with them. To sum this part up, optimizing stuff is overall good and efficient, but it is easy to optimize too much and believe that it helps when it doesn't, therefore wasting time and effort, which is bad. That's kind of it. Anyways, as a self-respecting video as a YouTuber, I have to say a few buzzwords before proceeding. Analysis paralysis. Dopamine baseline. Overstimulation. Oh, that's a good one. Optimization paradox. That's basically what I was talking about. Cheers. I really get where the will for self-improvement comes from, whether it is from increasingly difficult life's condition, or fear of missing out, or even just a simple realization that life is short and you just want to shape the best version of yourself. Yet, in attempts to improve your life, you may easily spiral down into a deep rabbit hole of like productivity and over-optimization and scheduling. But eventually, you can fall so deep that you wouldn't even recognize yourself in a mirror. Always engaged enough to move forward, and yet never enough to enjoy the things around you. Although this part barely applies to like me and most of the people watching this video, I think we struggle with a bit of a different problem. And I don't want to fearmonger you into stop doing stuff. You should absolutely keep going. You know, the self-improvement has helped so many people in the long run. My take is just be mindful of that. And yeah, it is the most generic thing that I could have said. But you know, you cannot build a house that would last without a proper foundation. In the end of the day, the productivity is more of a tool to improve your well-being rather than a lifestyle you follow to escape your misery. So hey, make your own choices and don't take performance too seriously. And that is all I have for this video, so if you enjoyed it so far, check out my other videos or like my TikTok account. And yeah, that's basically it. Peace out.